A lobster. A lobster is a mushy creature with a hard outer shell, which is called an exoskeleton. When they're born, they're tiny, and they're soft, and then they harden the outside of their bodies for protection. But as they grow, their body grows, but the shell doesn't. So it becomes there's more pressure. It becomes increasingly more uncomfortable. And that discomfort causes them to shed that shell and grow a new one. But they're vulnerable for a period of time until they grow that harder external shell. That's their armor. What a great example of what we all go through. So many people seek comfort. It's part of our survival mechanism to where we want to be comfortable, we want to get comfortable. And like you see it in people that are successful, they get to a certain level of success, whether it's in their business, in their relationships, and with their physical body, and then they just stay there. And there's nothing wrong with that if you consciously decided that's what you want to do. But here's the truth, especially when it comes to your health. Every day, you get a little better or a little worse. You get a little stronger or you get a little weaker. You get a little healthier or you get a little sicker. But it's microscopic changes. And that's why consistency is so important. The big mistake I see a lot of people make with their health and their fitness is they don't have structure. They don't have a regimen. They're not consistent. So they're just randomly taking actions. And there's a science to this. You can't just randomly do things and expect an extraordinary result. In fact, I've never met a single person who has transformed their health, their fitness, their body, their life in any way without some sort of structure, of a regimen, of a plan, without what? Consistency. Because the truth is, all we need is an effective, sustainable plan and the mindset to carry it through. Now, part of that mindset is to have the identity of the type that you're the type of person that can and will do what it takes. That's a huge part of it. And that's the thing I see people missing. And if you don't have that identity, then you're going to tend to not have that structure. And so they go hand in hand. Both are equally important. You can't have one without the other. Now, just like the lobster had this pressure and this discomfort, there's a principle. Challenge creates change. The body becomes what you demand of it. So if you sit on a couch all day long and you stand up and try to walk around, you're kind of shaped like the couch. I'm not saying just with fat, but your posture, your structure, because your body is being trained at every second of the day. It's memorizing all the information, all the movement, the motor patterns. And so what does this all mean? Well, one, embrace discomfort. Two, you need structure. You need consistency. And you can't just take random actions and expect something extraordinary to happen. And if you're listening to this, you're the type of person that doesn't want an ordinary life. You want to create something special, something that makes a difference. You're the type of person that is a heart-driven leader, someone that wants to make your mark on the world in a beautiful way. You may not want to be famous or anything like that, and I can't blame you, but you want to know that your life mattered. And I think everybody on the deepest level really wants that, but a lot of people just don't believe that they're enough, that they're worthy of life's rewards, or that they're capable enough, and that's just not true. If you have breath in your lungs and you can move your body and you can focus your mind, you can create anything in life. I truly believe that, but you have to believe it because our beliefs dictate our life. It's like if you have an app, right? And you want to take a picture. You go to the camera app on your phone and then you can take pictures, but you can't go to the Notes app and take a picture. And that is the way with beliefs. If you want to be super fit, you want to be lean, strong, energized, athletic, you want to live a long time and without limits, you must have the beliefs that support that. And if you add up all those beliefs that support it, that becomes an identity. Those are like all the apps. And so the question is, and I can't tell you this, it's something you have to contemplate, something you need to be aware of and constantly be vigilant in order to understand and pull what you believe from the subconscious to your conscious mind. And the very act of identifying a limiting belief will weaken it, and it will start to unwind and unravel. And if you hold that, and you don't go back to, and you don't feed the negative belief, and like, yeah, it is true because this happened this time. If you do that, it doesn't unravel anymore. But if you hold your focus upon it and you don't allow the bullshit to come back, then it weakens and dissolves. So how do you change a limiting belief? You have a level of awareness. That's the first step. You have to, when you feel off, especially when you have negative or fear-based emotional states, those are gifts. And so what happens is, say you're driving in traffic and someone does something and you get really angry. So there's an opportunity there. And say you're like, all right, let me take a deep breath here. I'm really curious to understand why that makes me so angry. And then you contemplate, like, what would I have to believe in order for this person doing this to make me feel so angry? Do they even know that I'm angry? Probably not, unless you honked or yelled at them or something ridiculous, right? But you have to ask, what would I have to believe in order to get angry right now? Well, I have to believe that they did it on purpose, that they woke up this morning and said, I'm gonna find some stranger that drives a car just like me, and I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna cut them off. I'm gonna honk. I'm gonna give them the finger. And just to make them mad, and then I'll be happy, and then I'll carry on and try to do that to another person. Like, I just don't think that's a thing. And it's so silly. Like, the beliefs are so silly, the conscious mind just unravels it. It's like, yeah, that's nonsense. You gotta let that go. And that's how you change beliefs. But you do that again and again and again. It's constant. It's a lifetime of work. But it is the greatest achievement, the highest level attainment I think any human could evolve to, because you are every time you're stripping away the old inefficient software that's holding you back, that has all the bugs in it, all the things that are dysfunctional. And so basically what we want to do is clear out the beliefs, and one belief can change everything. Now, there are really important beliefs that, like, if you want to be a master of yourself, a master of your thoughts, emotions, and actions, which are the only three things we have command of in our lives if we choose to do the work. Everything in your life has been created. Where you stand today all came upon because you had certain thoughts, ideas, pictures in your mind, and then they created a certain feeling state. And that way you felt caused you either to take certain actions or avoid actions. And that's your behavior. And if you take that all, that is where everything came about in your life. And that goes for everybody. So I call your thoughts, feelings, and actions the three pillars of creation. And while this is a program, I teach people training, nutrition, and mental conditioning, this program is really about self-mastery. Because after doing this my entire life, because of my father, like, I got my first weight set and punching bag when I was 4. So I've done this my entire life. And there was a point where I'm like I was 23, I won the world's best personal trainer contest. And at that time, now, like, I feel like everyone should just get amazing results. But the truth is I'm a guide. I can't make people do things. I can encourage them. And as a coach, my mission and my purpose is quite simple. Not easy, but it's simple. It is to see others through the eyes of God. And what I mean by that is the lens of unconditional love. To see people as their highest potential. That is the greatest service you can do for another human. It's not always easy. I know sometimes people see me and they're like, oh, I'm having trouble seeing that guy. Well, because I'm still part human, right? Part human. And so these three pillars of creation are what we're here to master. And so everything is created from these three things. And I can't emphasize this enough. But as I was going through, I'm making programs. Like I've known how to make a program. There is a science to transformation. If you want to build muscle, burn fat, get stronger, have greater endurance, create structural balance, mobility, whatever it is, there is a science to it, and we know it. Now, people will like to just teach random things to get attention and clicks now, and so they'll exaggerate and lie, and then that is what makes it tough figuring things out, because all the misinformation. But when you really understand the mechanics and the principles, it's simple. I'm sure everyone listening here has an area of their life where they know how to do something. Like say you're in construction, right? And I have a client that builds stadiums. And so they know how to do that. So if someone comes over and like that, you don't know what you're doing. You can't do, like, dude, we built a ton of these things. You know, get the hell out of here. Right? That's because there's such a level of certainty, of confidence in that, because they've done it again and again. And that's where I'm at with training, nutrition, and all that, and sports performance, all these things, because I've done it for so long. But this is new to some of you. And so when I give you a program, I already know it works, but it's like a treasure map. And what I mean by that is you can get a treasure map today, but you still need to go into the mountains. You gotta move boulders. You gotta trudge your equipment through crazy hard landscapes. You gotta go into a cave maybe, and you gotta dig holes. You gotta do all this stuff. It's not easy. Then you gotta secure it. And then you gotta get it back, and then you gotta figure out what to do with it and find buyers for it. So it's not easy. So I have the easy job. I'm here to give you an effective, sustainable plan, to give you the science of transformation, and to see you accurately through the eyes of God. That is what I do. And to remind you, my only goal is like, hey, this is what you do, and this is who you are. That is what a guide or a coach does. Not bossing around and making you do stuff, because if I woke you up and said, hey, go start doing push-ups, let's go. That's called a drill sergeant. And most people, when they get out of the military, don't work out anymore because it sucks so bad. So that's motivation. Someone's making you do it out of pain, because if you don't follow through, you're going to suffer. There's a negative repercussion. But what we're all about here is how to use those three pillars of creation to motivate yourself from within. That is called inspiration, because it's from within you. All I need is within me now. Everybody loves that phrase, but most people don't believe it. They like to say it, but they don't take the time to wire it up in their nervous system in a way where it's part of their identity. Because it requires what? To wire stuff up, to change your beliefs, to upgrade the software of your mind, to expand your identity. It takes what? Clarity of what you want, your North Star. What am I creating here? What's the story that I'm writing? You got to get clear. You need to write the chapter first in the theater of your mind. And most people, when I talk to them the first time, when I do coaching calls, and I ask them, hey, why'd you sign up? What's your goal? If everything went exactly the way you wanted to, where would you be a year from now? What would be different? And most people have these lame answers. And that's where I'm like, all right, I got to get to work here. And I got to help them get clear on their North Star. And if you don't have that first, it's just not going to happen. It's you're rolling the dice. Maybe some people win the lottery, but when it comes to the body, they might get there, but then they relapse and they lose it all again. Because before you change your body, you must first change your mind. So if you want to upgrade your beliefs, the first step is to what is this next chapter that I'm creating? Like if you're going through a really hard time right now, this is a perfect opportunity. Like I said before, those negative emotions, those fear-based emotions are your key to upgrade the software of your mind, to dig into your subconscious beliefs and pull them to the surface and shed light on them and say, hey, do I want to keep this one, or what would I prefer to believe instead? And then you write that in the book of beliefs in your mind. And you can use imagery to do this. This is a thing I've done with athletes, I've done it myself, and this is what some of my most successful clients actually do. And I've learned from a lot of my clients. Like I learned more from most of them than they learned from me, which I probably should do better with that. But if you want to upgrade the software mind, you've got to know what you want, why it's important. And if it's about your body, if you're trying to transform your body, And it's all about just the way you look, because if it's by the way you look, there's a belief that you're not enough as you are unless my stomach looks like this, my ass looks like this, when my clothes fit me like this. You know, there's all this laundry list of just made up stuff that we picked up from programming, usually from marketers, and saying like, oh, as a woman, I should weigh this much, look like this, blah, blah, blah. As a man, I should look like this and blah, blah, blah. All that nonsense. You decide. But most of us have been programmed from a young age. You see, we have these belief systems. Where did they come from? Now, we do have some that we're born with for whatever reason. We don't quite understand that. But we also, from the first 7 years of our lives, if you look at the brainwave activity of children, we're in a theta brainwave state. That's a trance. That's one step above sleep. Delta is sleep. 0 to 4 hertz, and then 4 to 8 hertz would be theta. And then alpha is above that, and that's more creative awareness. And then beta is like when you're fully awake and sometimes stressed out and stuff. That's the quick version of it. But what the point of me saying that is when we're younger, when we're in these first 7 years of life, we're a sponge. We're creating meanings and stories and beliefs with everything. You're watching cartoons, you're getting beliefs. And so we have to be vigilant with this after that. So if you want to change your life, you've got to change your beliefs. And if you want, you've got to know what you believe now and use those negative emotions, those negative circumstances to bring them to the light and upgrade it. Because one belief can change everything. So there are 4 core beliefs everyone should have. And I'm not going to go super deep on each of them, but you want to wire these up. And these help keep you out of fear, make you feel worthy. They transmute fear into action. And it tells a beautiful story. But this is the foundation. And then you build upon these. So, pen to paper. If you're not serious about this, just turn it off. I ain't got time for you. But if you're serious about living your best life, being your highest and best self, so you can be, feel, and give your best and have a life of no regrets, if you want to live greatly, write this down. There are 4. Write it down so many times that it is burned and imprinted in your mind. So here it goes. 1, I live in a safe world. Therefore, I am always absolutely safe. I live in a safe world. Therefore, I am always absolutely safe. When we don't have certainty, when we don't have security, when we don't feel safe, we go into fight or flight. And in those states, there's a myriad of problems. 1, your cells break down faster than they rebuild, so you accelerate aging. Also, when we're in fight or flight, when we're in fear-based states, that is where every mistake you and I have ever made was created. It was born in moments of fear when we decided on things in scary situations. That's the first belief. The second belief is very similar. We're just changing one word. I live in a loving world. Therefore, I am always absolutely loved. I live in a loving world. Therefore, I am always absolutely loved. Now, what does that mean? Quite simply, the game of life is choosing love over fear. Love is a constructive, productive energy. You see, when you're in states of love-based emotion, your body generates more energy than it consumes. So it is perpetual energy. Love creates the order of the universe. Have you ever wondered how the sun is at this perfect distance and how it shines on a plant and that the dirt has soil? Where'd that soil come from? From things passing on and breaking down. And then it rains. All this perfect ecosystem. There's an order to the universe. Something does not come from nothing. Love isn't, I'm not talking about Disney fairy tale nonsense. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the power that creates in the universe. So when we're in states of love, we can access our highest and best self, that part of you that is unstoppable, that is energized, that finds a way or makes the way, that sees themselves and others through the eyes of God, the lens of unconditional love. Wire that belief up and your life will change. The next belief: everything happens for my benefit. Everything happens for my benefit. I like to add to this one. I say everything happens for my benefit. Everything is either a lesson that I must learn to go to the next level, or a launching pad for greater success, for greater victory. And you can make this up in your own words, but the intent must be the same. That no matter what happened in your life, it is guided and it is good. And you will find out later, it may not feel like it right now, but stay out of fear, stay centered, and it will work itself out. And if you go back in life and you think of your Hall of Fame, your highlights, the most difficult times in your life, and what was gained from that time, think of it, just one. And if you can't find it, you're not asking the right question. There's always a benefit. Now, the fourth belief, and the last one we'll talk about today, I had a lot of challenges with, because where I'm from, everyone works really hard, like manual labor. Like I remember in the summer, my dad had me dig this giant ditch because it was summertime and I was, like 9 or 10, and there's no one really lived around me. And so my dad would give me like work to do. And so we had a lot of animals, so I would always take care of those year round. But in the summer, I had extra time, so now like one summer, I built a deck like along our whole house. And so I had all these things. But I remember this one because everything, I felt proud, like when I built a deck, or if I did these things, or if I cut the fields, or whatever it is, or if I did whatever. And so this time, I dug this huge ditch. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't know what it's for, but I'm just, he said to do it. It's for something, I'm sure. And then it took me like 10 days. And I would work I remember it was like 9 a.m. until it got dark, like every day, just digging and putting a wheelbarrow and moving the dirt. And so I had this big stack of dirt. It was huge. And I was kind of proud of myself. Like, man, I'm like, I can really dig. It's a silly thing, but when you're a kid, I think it's cool. I still think it's cool. But anyway, what happened was I showed my dad when it was done, based off what he told me. And then he goes, okay, fill it back in. And he walked away. And I was so angry because I'm like, did I do all this for nothing? Later on, I realized what he was teaching me. That hard work doesn't always pay off. You need to work smart. And what I learned moving forward was I asked more questions. I did not blindly do what I was told. I asked more questions so I understood, what are we trying to create here? And then find even smarter, better ways of accomplishing it. Like my neighbor had a bulldozer. I could have just called him. I could have fed his horses for, the summer, and he would have done it for me. We probably would have done it for free. It was awesome. But that's what the lesson was. And so, but I had this belief that hard work pays off. But it doesn't always pay off. Smart work pays off. So a lot of times with training and working out, people they're motivated. And so what do? They just keep doing more. More is better. If some is good, more is better. That is not true. Your body has a certain capacity to recover from stress, physical, mental, emotional stress. And so just randomly doing more activity, often, one, it does not speed up the results. Two, and very commonly, leads to injury or chronic pain because people just keep doing it. Like runners, for instance, they are always injured. And so one of the things you can ask any runner, you go to like a local 5K, 10K, people are either running because they're addicted to running, and you can ask them, are you injured? And they're like, yeah, I got this thing in my ankle, and you'll find it. And so that's one thing. But a lot of people are running to lose weight. But running isn't how you lose weight. You can burn calories, but most of the people get injured doing it, and you can see someone run. I ran the Pittsburgh Marathon with a client that had diabetes, and I was monitoring her during the time, and I remember, so it was taking forever. It was like 5.5 hours. It was brutal running that slow for me. Like, I'd rather just run fast and get it done, but we had to be careful. And so we're running, and there's people that are finishing marathons, 26.2 miles, that are obese. I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. I remember there was this woman, and she was probably, 60 pounds overweight. And I was like, hey, congratulations, that's amazing. And she seemed really disappointed. And I said, oh, what's going on? And she goes, well, I did this to lose weight, and I didn't even lose any weight. She goes, I'm so hungry, I just keep eating. And I was like, oh man, and it broke my heart in that moment, and I ended up helping her. I was younger, and I was just like, why would someone believe that? And I didn't realize that people have a lot of bad information, but it comes from our beliefs. And so we must question things. But this is all about wiring up your beliefs. And so taking these 4 beliefs, writing them down every day, thinking about them, contemplating them, the more you place your attention on something, the more it grows, the more it strengthens, the more it becomes part of you. And that goes for good things and not so good things. So keep that in mind. So like if you start scrolling on your phone, it's hard to stop, right? Because you're getting these little dopamine hits, because you're getting variety, there's excitement, you're having these things. Your nervous system's being messed with in a way where you can get caught up in this unlimited scrolling. So last thing I want to share with you is a story. And the story was this is like in the 1950s, and this was an entrepreneur who owned a chain of women's shoe stores, and they were crushing it. And so someone from the newspaper asked him, hey, what's your secret? And he goes, 2, not 3. And they're like, what do you mean? He says, when a woman comes into my store, she'll ask to see a pair of shoes, and I'll bring them out. And then inevitably, she'll ask, can I also see these ones? So I'll bring out the second pair of shoes. Then she's trying them on, and she'll say, oh, can I also see those ones? And he goes, sure. Which one would you like me to take away? And then she would decide, and he would take it away, and now she has 2 choices instead of 3 or more choices. And this is what he found. He found that if they have 3 or more pairs of shoes that they're looking at the same time, they won't buy any. There's too many choices. It's overwhelming. But if they have 2, he'll buy 1. And so Tony talks about 1, 2, 3, many. And really, this is the same principle. If you are randomly exercising, and when you don't have a plan, if you don't have a structure, you're like, what am I going to do today? Now you have so many choices that what does most people do? They don't do anything. And if they do something, it's random and it doesn't lead to progress. And so here's what I'd like to invite you to do. I would like to invite you to 1, write down those beliefs again and again and again. When you're training, especially when you're doing your cardiovascular conditioning, repeat these. Tell the story of victory, of triumph. Wire it up. If you're going through a tough time, speak it as if it's already done and it worked out to your benefit. Do it again and again. Get clarity. When you have clarity, you have certainty. And when you have certainty, you have confidence. And from confidence comes faith. And so that's the first thing. Wire up those 4 core beliefs that everybody needs to keep us out of fear and connected to our highest and best self. The second thing is, ask yourself, what is most important in my life? And get clear on this, because when you know what's most important, life is actually quite simple. But only you can answer that. So you can put it in categories. But what I'd really invite you to do is ask another question. What is non-essential? What can I let go of? What is no longer needed in my life? A lot of times we're creatures of habit, and we have traditions. We're just doing things again and again and again, yet it's causing challenges in our life. Or we just don't have enough time to rebuild our vim and vigor. And so a lot of people get FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, oh, if I don't do that, I don't do that. I'm gonna miss out. Instead, tune in. When you're really clear on what's most important, then you can make a clear decision and you can do it very quickly. But in order to grow, we also, much like the lobster, we need to let go of the old. We must shed the exoskeleton, that hardened shell, those limiting beliefs, so that we can grow and expand and become more. Until next time. You tap into the real you, but you have to retrain yourself. The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live like a lion, not the fear of a lamb.